The British monarchy is one of the oldest continuous institutions in the world. And although the modern royal family looks very different from the warrior kings of the Middle Ages, their bloodline traces back almost 1,000 years. From King Charles III today, through the Windsors, the Hanoverians, the Stuarts, the Tudors, and the Plantagenets, the line runs all the way back to one man, William the Conqueror. In 1066, William crossed the Channel, defeated an English king, and founded a dynasty that would shape the island's history. Every monarch who followed, every crisis, every reform, every shift in power, grew from that moment. And now, nearly a millennium later, another William stands in the line of succession. A future king who carries the same name as the man who began it all. England's monarchy begins its most dramatic transformation in 1066. What follows is a story of conquest, power, crisis, and the slow emergence of a state that will one day become Great Britain. The Norman Conquest. In 1066, William, Duke of Normandy, defeats King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. William is known as William the Conqueror and becomes King of England, replacing the Anglo-Saxon elite with Norman lords. Castles rise across the landscape. A new aristocracy takes root. William orders the Great Survey of his new realm, the Domesday Book, and the monarchy becomes more centralized, more organized, and more tightly controlled than ever before. His sons, William II and then Henry I, continue this consolidation. Royal justice expands. Taxation becomes more systematic and England becomes a kingdom with a strong administrative backbone. The anarchy and the Angevin Empire. After Henry I's only legitimate son dies in the White Ship disaster, a succession crisis erupts. Cousins Stephen and Matilda fight for the throne in a period known as the Anarchy. England fractures. Order returns with Matilda's son, Henry II, who builds what becomes known as the Angevin Empire, stretching from the Scottish border to the Pyrenees. He reforms the legal system, creating royal courts and the foundations of English common law. His sons, Richard the Lionheart and John, yes of Robin Hood fame, inherit a powerful but unstable realm. Magna Carta. John's military failures and heavy taxation provoke rebellion. In 1215, the barons force him to seal Magna Carta. The Great Charter. It is not a democratic document, but it establishes a principle that will echo through the centuries. The king is not above the law. The Plantagenets and the growth of Parliament. Under Henry III and Edward I, Parliament begins to take shape. It is still dominated by nobles and clergy, but the idea of consultation becomes part of governance. The 14th century brings war with France, plague, and social unrest. Edward III's long reign sees military success, but also the strain of the 100 Years' War. Richard II's rule ends in deposition, another sign that royal authority is not absolute. The Wars of the Roses or the Cousins' War. The 15th century descends into dynastic conflict. The houses of Lancaster and York fight for the crown. Kings rise and fall, Henry VI, Edward IV, briefly Edward V, and finally Richard III. At Bosworth Field in 1485, Richard III is defeated by Henry Tudor. The medieval monarchy ends. A new age begins. The Tudors and Stuarts rule in an age of centralization, religious upheaval, and political conflict. Their story is one of power gained, challenged, and ultimately transformed. The Tudors. Henry VII restores stability after decades of civil war. His son, Henry VIII, famously he who married 6 times, reshapes the monarchy by breaking with Rome. The king becomes head of the Church of England, dramatically expanding royal authority. Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I continue the religious transformations. Elizabeth's long reign strengthens national identity and establishes England as a significant European power. The Stuarts and the question of sovereignty. James I inherits the English crown in 1603, uniting England and Scotland under one monarch. He believes in the divine right of kings. Parliament disagrees. His son, Charles I, pushes this belief further. Tensions over taxation, religion, and authority erupt into civil war. Civil War and Republic. The conflict ends with the trial and execution of Charles I in 1649. England becomes a republic under Oliver Cromwell. After Cromwell's death, the system collapses, and the monarchy is restored in 1660 under Charles II. The Glorious Revolution. Charles II's brother, James II, attempts to reassert royal power and promote Catholicism. Political leaders invite William of Orange and his wife Mary to take the throne. In 1688, James flees. William and Mary accept the crown under conditions that limit royal authority. The Bill of Rights in 1689 establishes parliamentary supremacy. The monarchy is no longer absolute. Union and succession. In 1707, England and Scotland unite to form Great Britain. In 1714, the crown passes to the Protestant House of Hanover. A new political era begins. From the Hanoverians to the Windsors, the monarchy evolves from a political force into a constitutional institution, shaped by reform, public expectation, and the rise of democracy. The Hanoverians. George I and George II rely heavily on ministers, accelerating the shift of power from monarch to parliament. Robert Walpole emerges as the first recognizable prime minister. George III's long reign sees war with France, the loss of the American colonies, and the beginnings of industrialization. By the early 19th century, the monarchy's political role is shrinking. Reform and representation. The 18th and 19th centuries bring major political reforms. Voting rights expand. Parliament becomes fully representative. Political parties take shape. Monarchs still influence politics, but they no longer control it. Victoria and the public monarchy. Queen Victoria's reign transforms the monarchy's image. Ceremony, symbolism, and public engagement become central. The royal family becomes a national institution rather than a political authority. Victoria's family extends into royal families across Europe. The Windsors. During World War I, the royal family adopts the name Windsor. George V, George VI, and Elizabeth II guide the monarchy through war, decolonization, and social change. Elizabeth II becomes the longest reigning monarch in British history. The monarch's role becomes ceremonial, a reign not a rule, appointing governments. Opening Parliament, representing the nation, providing continuity and stability. Political power rests entirely with elected leaders. Thank you for listening. If you want to hear more, please let us know in the comments.